crazy lady pushes and grabs my mother and gets karma. I finally have permission to share this story from my mother, who is the OP of the tale. Quick background. A year and a half ago, my mother was diagnosed with lymphoma, stage 2. Lymphoma is a type of aggressive cancer to your lymph nodes. My poor mother had it pretty bad, and it was caught not a moment too soon. She was under intensive chemoradiation treatment, as the cancer was all over her neck and chest for 6 very long months. She almost lost half of her thyroid to cancer. Now, though, she has been in remission for a solid year. Thank you, God. This story takes place during her treatment, and sadly I wasn't there. But Dad and her filled me in a few days after the incident. Mom had been cooped up at home after an aggressive round of chemo, and wanted to get out for a while on the day that she felt better. One thing to note, Mom is OCD. To this day, the house can pass a military inspection. One thing she cleans weekly is her car. But since her chemo, she had no energy to do so. Though Dad and I were hesitant to allow her to go anywhere because of her health and COVID, Mom was adamant, and I quote, "I need some fresh air, and so does the car." No joke, she said that. Mom did some quick errands for small things at home, including a nice new blanket, then drove over to a car wash company that did all the interior cleaning for customers. Since Mom was not feeling up to doing it herself, she let them clean the interior of her car. While she waits, a lady was apparently looking Mom over. Keep in mind, Mom at this time was almost 2 months into her chemo, and it was showing. She was a bit paler, her hair, after she cut it shorter before treatment, was starting to thin out, and some spots of missing hair were present. But Mom didn't want to wear hats or wigs. She was a brave woman, and a trooper for sure, and she was wearing a mask to protect her poor immune system from COVID and others around her. This lady apparently stomped over towards my mom, and she started shouting at her. According to Mom, she was cursing at her, telling her that she shouldn't be out in public looking like that, and even going so far as to demand what my mom had, and that she feared for her safety because she believed that what my mom had was contagious. The thing is, however, she wasn't wearing a mask the whole time this bat of a woman was screeching at my mother who was fighting cancer. Still boils my blood, and wishing that I was there to deck her and keep her away from my mom. I curse you, work. My mom, God bless her, has the patience of a saint. She kept silent the whole time until the lady put her hands on my mom, even going so far to shove her in the chest where her cancer was, which according to my mom felt like she hit a sledgehammer on a burn spot dead center of her chest. Mom stood up after that to get away from her, but she grabbed my mom hard and shoved her again, and that's when my mom reacted with a hard punch to the lady's face, knocking her flat out on the ground. Mom said she felt bad hitting her, not meaning to knock her out like that, but I was proud of her. Of course, the police and an ambulance were called. The cop took my mom's side of the story first while the lady was looked over. Just bruising, but she was making a scene and screaming that the diseased woman contaminated her, according to Mom. The cop, who sounded like a cool dude, was on my mom's side and told her that he understood my mom was just defending herself and was kindly asking how her treatment was going and if she needed a ride to the doctors to be looked over. Mom had an appointment the next day, so she was fine until then, but they did offer a cold compress for her chest. The lady was indeed charged with assault and battery and giving a false police report. She concocted a full lie when questioned for her side of the story, saying how my mom just attacked her when she was asked if she was okay. The witnesses backed my mom up. She got jail time, as well as 300 hours of community service working with cancer patients at a hospital, and a $700 fine. The cop had a hand in the community service apparently, since his mother was a cancer survivor, and knew what Mom was going through both physically and mentally. Mom and Dad treated the cop to a nice meal someplace as a thank you gesture for helping with the issue. I've been held accountable for my family's actions. It has been brought to my attention that I've taken up a place in my family's life that is equal to a servant. Let me be absolutely clear that this is a combination of my own fault and their complacency to what was happening. On Easter weekend, I decided to go stay with my boyfriend. He's 27, I'm 28. I baked pies for my family dinner, which would be on Monday, and left them in the fridge. Later during the weekend, I learned that more people would be coming, so I decided to be home early enough to make more pies and desserts on Monday. The dinner went great, and I decided to go clean up because everyone else had cooked. This is where the issues began. No one had any interest to get up to come and tell me how they wanted things packed. They proceeded to holler at me from the living room until I walked in. Initially, my mom texted me instructions, but I told her that my phone was by the window and dying, so I won't see her texts. It's then decided that I'd make packs for each household to take home, so I go back to help my boyfriend, who has started doing dishes. I had gotten about halfway in when my uncle comes in to ask if he could help. I tell him that the turkey bones need to be frozen for soup or tossed, so he goes back to ask what everyone thinks. There was apparently an argument about who would make soup that ended with my uncle taking the bones and Mom texting me more instructions I never saw. My boyfriend and I finished cleaning and packing, and I go tell everyone what's what, and they explode on me for doing it wrong. I was tired and frustrated, because any one of them could have walked in to tell me otherwise. Then Mom says that she had texted me the new instructions, and I reminded her that I didn't have my phone on me because it was dying. Somehow this gets turned into her making fun of the way I cook, and if how I didn't use as many dishes, she'd be more willing to clean up dinner after me. As I was irritated, I snipped back that I'd love to see anyone cook without making mess. Eventually, she's hounding me to acknowledge what I said, that she texted me instructions I never saw because my phone was dying, and I just agreed out of annoyance. Meanwhile, they're all still making fun of how I packed the food incorrectly. It's been like 10 minutes that I've been trying to leave the house with my boyfriend, who's behind me with his back turned to them getting his shoes on. At some point, my uncle starts just saying that it's fine, there's a lot of food left for soup, because I think he can see I'm exasperated and done with it all. We leave, and I'm trying to decompose on the way home. My boyfriend, however, asks me if that's usually how they treat me. I ask what he meant, and he said that they talk as if I'm just expected to be doing things like that. That he finds it weird that they holler at me from all over expecting me to get them items, and do things for them when my younger cousins are more than capable of helping out. And so are my uncle and his wife and my mom. This has been the norm for so many years that I'm just there for my family when needed. Need groceries? I have to go into town even if I wasn't planning on it. Need a ride? I get a call 10 minutes before they want to go. Even my own mother just expects I'm there to drive my brother, who's almost 18, around, even if I have to take off work or cancel plans to do so. And this is all because I never set boundaries for fear of getting yelled at by any of them, or worse, seeing them struggle. Meanwhile, my struggles are fair game to get laughed at and minimized. I'd never looked at it that way before, though. How often I'm guilted for wanting to go do other things, or when I explain that my work is important to me. I've been sick for a week and a bit, and I've been thinking about how little people check on my well-being, or ask if I need anything. And it's been very overwhelming that even if I live in the same house as my mom, her only concern is if I pay for things, since I haven't been at work for a while. And that if I tell her I'm home this week, she's going to ask why I haven't done anything instead of asking if I'm okay, or resting, or need anything. My existence is one of convenience for everyone's benefit, but my own, and it's truly one of the worst revelations I've made about myself to date. First come, first served doesn't apply to her. I've been making a nursery and giving away a lot of stuff that was in the guest room. Last week, I put a mattress for free on the community market, and lots of people didn't show after I held onto it for them. Frustrating, but lesson learned. Last night, I posted a corner cabinet, again, free, but this time I said first come, first serve. Overnight, I got 40 plus messages about it. 3 a.m. messages weren't fun, so I turned off the sound. I basically told them all the same thing, that it'd be available after 5 p.m., and I wasn't doing holds, so whoever got there first, it was theirs. A few seemed really interested, and told me they'd be there at certain times. I said okay, but let me know before heading this way in case someone else picks it up first. 5:12 p.m. comes, and a dude picks it up. Sweet. One less thing out of my way, and he left happy too. As soon as he leaves, I mark it as sold, and messaged a few people that said that they were going to try and pick it up, or find a truck just so they don't worry about it. Most people were cool, but one lady freaked out on me. She said what I did was messed up because I knew she wanted it, and I said she could pick it up. I told her a lot of people wanted it, and I never told her it was hers. I told her she'd have to be the one to pick it up if she wanted it because we wouldn't deliver it. She could not seem to understand the concept that someone else got it first, so it was theirs. I don't know what she expected me to do. Tell the other guy to bring it back? In the end, she said she was never going to buy anything from me again. I thought it was hilarious considering it and most of the stuff I post are free. Karen doesn't like people parking in front of her house. So, when I was around 6 years old, I lived with my family in a nice house in a small city in Poland. It was a quiet neighborhood on the outskirts, and pretty much all the neighbors knew each other. There were no sidewalks around the part of the street I lived at. Only one crappy sidewalk that started on the other side in front of my neighbor's house. It's important to remember that the sidewalk was very old and in bad shape. Still to this day, people are asking the city to fix it. This story is about that neighbor, Karen. She was an older lady. Everyone suspected that she really didn't have anything better to do than gather gossip and disturb everyone trying to rule the street. Everyone was commenting that if you wanted to get the whole area to know something, you had to tell her that message as a secret. Whenever someone came to visit us, they usually parked their car in front of our property. But on bigger meetups, like barbecues and parties, people would park in front of our closest neighbors' houses too. That was never a problem though. No gates were obstructed and no one was disturbed. Well, almost. Karen hated when someone parked in front of her house. She would always run out yelling about how we dared to park our filthy cars on her precious sidewalk. My mother is not someone that lets someone yell at her. She had many discussions with Karen about the laws and rules that stated that she doesn't own anything outside her fence, which means that the sidewalk is public, and anyone can park on it as long as they leave enough space for a wheelchair to pass. That wasn't enough though. Every time someone would come to us and park their car there, the yelling would start. Until one time when my mother's friend Tomek came for a coffee during winter. He's a local policeman, and his specialty is road law. So my mother tells him about Karen and her behavior regarding the sidewalk. Tomek laughs since the thing was in such bad shape that it can barely even be called a sidewalk. When he was leaving, he assured my mom that he would stop by next day for a coffee on his lunch break. Next day comes by, and I was playing with my brother in the snow. We see a black car pulling over in front of Karen's house, and as the driver gets out, Karen storms out of her house yelling, "You can't park here, this is my sidewalk. Get your filthy car off my prop." Well, there he was, Tomek, with his full uniform, hat and all, turning around towards Karen as comically as he would. "Excuse me? You tell me that I can't park my car here?" "Yes, but this is a sidewalk open to the public." "Yes, this is my sidewalk." "So let me get this right. This is your sidewalk." "Yes." "And you are the one responsible for taking care of it?" "Well, yes, I am. That's why I don't allow anyone to park here." "Oh, that's so nice that I found you. Since it's your sidewalk, you're responsible for clearing the snow from it to not create danger for people walking on it. Since it was not plowed, I need to write you a fine for endangering public safety," he says as he pulls out his notebook. "But no other sidewalks are plowed." "Oh, it doesn't matter. The other sidewalks belong to the city. The clearing crew is working on cleaning them. But since this sidewalk is yours, it's your responsibility." "But I'm old. I can't shovel the snow." "Then you need to hire someone to do that. Of course, if this sidewalk happened to be out of public property." Yes, it's not mine. But a moment ago you were yelling at me that it was. So what is it? Is it yours or not? Because I don't know if I should fine you now." "No, it's not mine." "Alright, seems like we cleared that up. Now if you ever harass anyone like you did with me, it could result in a fine, so I recommend you watching out on what you claim to be yours." And then he proceeded to cross the street and enjoy coffee in our house. Karen never disturbed anyone for parking in front of her house again. She would only stare at people trying to burn holes in their skulls with her sight. Gave a friend my old Apple pencil, and she became pouty because she wanted my new pencil. I managed to get an Apple pencil for an amazing price last week. I was scrolling Facebook, and a friend of a friend was selling an unopened Gen 1 pencil for £35. I went on a whim and bought it, and I now had a spare pencil I didn't use. I told my friend about it at school, and said if she'd like, she could have the old one. I bring it into school the next day as she had agreed, and this was our conversation. Convo, me and EF, entitled friend. "Hey EF, here's the pencil," as I begin describing the mechanics and what to do. "Oh, it's amazing, but why are there marks on it?" "Oh, sorry. It's had a few chomps from my dog over the years. It works fine though, it's only the barrel with damage." EF thanks me and goes quiet. "Everything alright? You seem upset." "Oh, nothing, it's fine. I was just confused on why I was getting your old pencil." "Your what?" I feel embarrassed for saying this now. I just got really excited because I thought you were giving me the Facebook one because you got it cheap. But it's okay, it's still thoughtful, just not what I was expecting. "Yeah, no, I got it off Facebook, still unopened and brand new. If you're gonna get arsy, I'll just give the old pencil to someone who's grateful." She ended up begging me to keep it and kept it anyway. I wasn't about to argue with a petty princess. Not exactly an explosive story, but still thought it'd be a contribution. It's been pissing me off all day, and it's just the obliviousness and nerves that she has that really got me. I should also add that she was given the pencil for free. It still had its extra nub, charging port, and box. Literally just barrel damage.